Hi everyone. I recently put together a list of tips for taking portraits, and during that I started looking more closely at this particular picture. In the spirit of trying to learn what makes a good portrait, I've been asking myself why I like the photo and trying to put into words what I think is going on in it. The reason for looking closely at a photo is that I think we often react instinctively to pictures, either positively or negatively. We make up our minds and we can have an emotional response too, but without taking some time to look at how a picture works or doesn't, then as photographers we can't learn anything from that. We'll keep making the same mistakes or just accidentally and occasionally getting things right. I remember one of my favorite teachers at school told me that it was good to deconstruct a poem about a rose, but just as important to put it back together again. I think that was a way of saying that the technical, intellectual bit of looking at art shouldn't distract from seeing it emotionally. Thinking about something shouldn't subtract from what it offers. As one of my heroes, Richard Feynman, once said, thinking adds, except he said it with a thick Brooklyn accent. It adds. It only adds. I guess I should start by saying that I like this picture an awful lot. It is the first picture anyone sees if they go to my wedding photography website. The first thing I think that works for me is the pose. It wasn't something that I directed, but I chose the angle to shoot from. I love that her shoulders are at an angle to the camera as they lead you into the picture. There's a diagonal line leading up from the corner into the subject. Next, the color palette is simple and harmonious. Too many colors can be busy and complicated to look at. Here there's subtle variation in the shades of greens. They are all very calming to match Beth's serene look. I like the leading line of the edge of the river behind her. The line matches the line of her dress and also intersects nicely with the diagonal line of her shoulders. I was about to say that I like how the shapes in her headdress match the shapes in the trees behind her. Only just now when I try to put that into words, I see that of course it's because they're all leaves. And they also echo the leaves in her bouquet. The leaves are scattered nicely across the photograph and subtly blend her with the scenery. The picture was taken with my Contax T2 camera and quite cheap Kodak Gold film. For those of you not familiar with the Contax T2, it's a wonderful camera, but just a point and shoot. For portraits at weddings, I often use my fast 85mm lens. So I'm very happy that this, one of my favorite portraits, was shot using a 38mm lens, and by the looks of it, a very small aperture. The background is just ever so slightly out of focus, but it doesn't need to be to create a sense of separation, as the white of her dress and her warm skin tone does that. It's a nice reminder that you don't need to turn the background into a blurry nothingness to make the subject pop. In fact, looking at this might inspire me to stop down my lenses a little, especially where there is such a beautiful background. I have also spent a few moments thinking about the veil. Behind her head, it works perfectly as a frame and separates her from the background. We nearly always notice the lightest parts of a picture first, and that should be used to highlight the subject. Of course, the beautiful wedding dress does that here, but it's the veil and silver headdress that extends the brightness around her face. Without it, our attention would be gently pulled down to the dress, but the veil and silver Grecian leaves balance that out. Although shot on film, I have edited the picture a little. Nothing too crazy, just a bit of saturation and warmth from the color balance. If you have any thoughts or observations, do let me know in the comments. Big thanks for taking a few minutes to contemplate a single picture with me. It's nice to look more carefully sometimes. Thanks for your thumbs ups and for subscribing. It really helps the channel to grow. Thanks again, and see you all soon.